Welcome to the Aussie Millions. I'm Paul Curry, and we are getting to the business end of the most intimidating event in the poker calendar, the $100,000 buy-in tournament here at the Crown Casino in Melbourne, Australia. We started with 24 keen combatants, and we have 15 remaining. And today we will play down to a final table of 8.
As if that wasn't pressure enough, the players are also battling against the clock. The format is speed poker. They only get 30 seconds to make a decision that might be worth over $1 million. Their talent is going to be tested to breaking point.
That's got to favour some of the razor-sharp instincts of the top pros, such as Gus Hansen, Eric Lindgren and, of course, Phil Ivey.
That's true, Paul, but our amateurs, they're no mugs either. We've got billionaires and hedge fund managers who are well used to gambling for enormous sums, and they'll want to prove that they can scrap it out on the felt with the best of them, as well as in the boardrooms and on the trading floors.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the action. 100,000 to enter this tournament, the biggest buy-in tournament in the world, right here at Crown Casino during the Aussie Millions, the biggest tournaments in the Southern Hemisphere. The button is on Andrew Feldman and the action is on Tony G. Folds this time around to Feldman. To his left, the professor of poker, Howard Lederer.
It is pot limit before the flop and no limit afterwards.
Feldman raises to 12,500 in position with Queen 10 off suit. Howard taking a stare. He's won this tournament, so he's got plenty of experience at this level. 100,000 in chips is what they begin with. 24 players of the best in the world are in this field. He makes the call. And over to Roberto Romanello from Wales.
Very exciting player in the United Kingdom. Consistently up at the top of the rankings. Discretion the better part of valour this time with the rags he was holding.
Here comes the flop. It is an ace-ace-7 flop. And both players check. To the turn, another ace, an ace of clubs.
That gives Howard a club draw.
Both players check. And the river is a king of clubs.
That completes Lederer's flush. Possible full houses out there.
Well, he's checked it to Feldman, who has an opportunity here if he wants to take a stab, because that board is terrifying with 3 aces on it.
I still think it's going to have to be a pretty big stab to get rid of the professor here.
And look at this. Feldman is going to bet 21,000 over to Howard, and look at his face. He certainly doesn't want to be paying Feldman off if he's got an ace, but he's actually holding the best hand.
An ace, a 7, a king, or any pocket pair will do it for Feldman. Lederer under time pressure, remember. Each player only gets 30 seconds.
It's made a flush.
And Howard says, I made a flush and fold. So Andy Feldman showing some courage there, betting on the river and taking the pot away from the professor of poker.
David Elder on table 2 is our first victim of this session and 10th of the tournament, as his king-queen was crushed by Danny Stern's set of 8s. The Scrabble champion seemed at a loss for words as he headed off for a night on the tiles. button is on Roberto Romanello, who, despite his very Italian-sounding name, is, I assure you, Welsh. Masa Kagawa has joined us, and Andrew Feldman has gone to balance another table. Action is folded round to Romanello, who is on the button with unsuited connectors.
Roberto certainly likes to play his position with strength, and it looks like he's going to come in here. Makes a raise, 13,500. Pot limit before the flop, no limit after the flop. Billy Giordano gets out of the way. And look whose big blind it is, it's Phil Ivy's.
He only has Queen 4, but he decides to protect it.
Two players, 1 and 3. 3 is first.
Ivy to act first.
Check it.
And that has not connected with his Queen 4. Romanello has top pair.
Ivy checks, across to Roberto. He checks, and look at the turn, an 8 of spades. So Roberto with trips, and Ivy out of position. Will he take a stab? He's reaching for chips. And he will. He makes it 18,000. Will he decide to attack here? Or will he call and try and trap Phil and make him bet again on the river?
10 seconds.
No, Roberto chooses to raise here, 41,000.
41.
And Phil Ivy with no outs. There's two choices, fold, or make some extravagant bluff.
Well, Roberto is hoping that he takes the latter option, but Phil Ivy chooses to fold. So Roberto Romanello, with some creative play there, takes some chips from Phil Ivy. The button is on Billy Giordano, our local sentimental favourite amongst the crowd. A lot of people here to support Billy in his attempt to win that $1.2 million first prize in a world-class field. The action is on Roberto Romanello with a deuce 3 offsuit.
He's in the cut-off, not a bad position, but these rags.
10 seconds.
I didn't expect to tempt him, but look at that.
Raised to 15.5.
Well, he makes it 15,500. And we know Roberto loves his position, and this is how he uses it. Over to Tony G, one of the more experienced players at the table. He makes the call out of the big blind with a 5-7 offsuit. You wouldn't think he was ahead, but he in fact is. And the flop comes Jack 7-6. So Tony catches middle pair. The turn a 5, so Tony now with 2 pair.
4 bets, 18.
A
Roberto.
4 gives him the straight.
Tony's really taken command of this hand. Roberto's put himself in a position here where he wants to play this hand, but he's really been outplayed by Tony. And he's being timed out by the dealer, and he lets it go. So Tony G fighting back out of the big blind. Full tilt pro Eric Lindgren had to be disappointed when his pocket aces were beaten by a set of sixes from Barry Greenstein in the biggest pot of the tournament so far, with over 350,000 in the middle. Barry's book is called An Ace on the River, and Eric was hoping for just that. This time the story had no happy ending, and Lindgren departed in 14th place.
Very good spirit around this table, despite the fact so much money is at stake. And talking of money, Tony G very generously agreeing to buy everyone in the casino a drink. That is sure to go down well with an Australian crowd, and indeed it does.
Need some drinks to loosen up and chill.
He's currying favour. He wants them to loosen up and cheer. He wants them to be on his side, and from now on, they most definitely will be.
Masa Kagawa raising with pocket fours, and Phil Ivey making the call with Queen 7 of clubs.
The flop comes down, and Ivey hits the Queen, so he goes in front. 2 pairs for Kagawa. Pretty good flop for fours.
He's checked it across to Masa, expecting a bet. He gets one, makes it 20,000. Over to Phil. Look at this. Phil Ivey moves all in for 66,000. And Masa asking the question, and this would be a terrible call if Masa makes it.
Kagawa can still get away from this. He asked the question with that bet, got an answer, and very sensibly gets out of the way. Perhaps Tony G will buy him a drink.
The button is on Phil Ivey, and the action will be on Howard Lederer. And we'll take a look at a 5-6 offsuit and fold Roberto with a 9-5 offsuit. Looks like he's having a think about it.
10 seconds.
Perhaps thinking about coming in for a raise. He folds over to Billy. Quickly folds. Round to Tony G. He's got a 10-3 of spades and will complete from the small blind. And Masa checks his option in the big blind with Queen 6 offsuit. So we go to the flop. It is a 7-6-3 flop with 2 hearts.
Bottom pair for Tony G. Middle pair for Masa Kagawa, and he comes out firing. 6,000 was the bet. He got a call.
The turn, a king of diamonds. Both players check. The river is another 6, a 6 of spades. So Masa with trips on the river.
Okay.
And it is checked to him, and he bets. He makes it 20,000. So now back over to Tony, who might be inclined to be a little bit sceptical.
Tony has 2 pairs with a king kicker. But 20,000 is a lot of cabbage.
Can he get Tony G to call?
10 seconds.
And he's been called by the dealer. Any time left. And he lets the clock run down. So Tony G electing to let this one go. And that was the right decision.
Covering 510,000 square metres, the equivalent of 2 city blocks, Melbourne's premier entertainment complex is recognised as the largest and most diverse in the Southern Hemisphere. Crown's integrated facilities feature Crown Casino with 350 tables and 2,500 gaming machines. Visitors can stay at Crown Towers, a 5-star ultra-high luxury property, and Crown Promenade, a relaxed, affordable, contemporary accommodation. As well as gaming, the Crown complex also has more than 40 restaurants and 30 bars, as well as 2 nightclubs. Add in an extensive collection of international designer boutiques, 14 cinemas and a live entertainment theatre, and you have one of the best and most luxurious properties